Hello friends, welcome back. Today I want to show you an update of the garden. It is full of flowers and things are starting to bloom. So I want to show you all the rare things that I have growing here that you typically won't see growing in other gardens in Northern Virginia or Zone 7. I recently got changed to Zone 7B. I used to be Zone 7A for the longest time, but now it's Zone 7B and I'm still trying to get used to saying Zone 7B. The first plant you don't see very often is this one right here. This is an artichoke. I started this one from seed last year. It didn't produce any last year, but this year it has some flowers on there. So if you want them to produce fruit, it takes 2 years for them to do so. So be patient and make sure that you mulch them down with a lot of leaves in the winter months. Over here I have a raised bed with some cool plants. This one right here is Musa balutina. It's a red banana and I'm hoping that it overwinters here. I'm not sure if it will, but if it does, it's gonna be cool. It's a beautiful flower that it puts and it makes edible bananas, but they are a little seedy. There's a guy that grows these in another cold zone, just as cold as we are, so I'm confident that these will survive the winter. This little thing right here is a butterfly ginger, and this one is supposed to be hardy to Zone 7B, and you can see here it's putting out a new shoot, so hopefully these survive. So stay tuned and you can see these guys later on. It produces an edible flower, and I believe you can also eat the rhizome. This one is butterfly ginger. This beautiful tree right here is a pomegranate tree, and it's its third year in the ground, and it's loaded with flowers this year. Check out how many flowers it has. And today I saw this flower over here, and that was the reason why I wanted to make this video, to show you that beautiful flower right there. And I see another one over here too. Check that one out. So beautiful. It's so intricate in there too. I also want to point out that this tree is planted in the ground and it survives the winter. This one right here I got from Edible Landscaping. It's a nursery in Virginia, and this one is called Crimson Sky. It's a little, hopefully different than the Salavaski that usually we see around here. This right here is my potted citrus. This is a Calamondin, and this is a variegated ginger. These are potted, so these will go into the greenhouse for the winter months. I also have my banana plants that I dug out last year and I plant them back out this year. They haven't come up to the top yet, so I think I made a mistake by doing that. They're not really coming out just yet, so I'm concerned that they might die. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they come back. This is a really cool update I want to show you. This right here is a yuzu seedling that I started a long time ago, and I put it into the ground last year, and it survived the winter last year. We got to about 12 degrees on one night, and I did not cover this. You can see a little bit of damage right here, but the rest is alive and well. This right here is my new addition to the garden this year. This is a wind palm. I got it over the winter and I had it indoors, but I put it in the ground and hopefully it survives here in Zone 7B. This right here is a Citromelo that my friend gave me, TG from It Is Just Gardening. He's also on YouTube. Check him out. He gave this to me about 2 years ago, and I moved it to this area last year, and it survived the winter without a hitch. And look at it, it looks so good, and it's putting out new growth. And as long as the growth is hard, by the time winter gets here, it survives the winter no problem. And what about this other beautiful pomegranate tree that I have right here? Check out the amount of flowers it's producing this year. Wow, it is loaded. So cool. This side back here is also loaded with so many flowers. Check them out. Check out how many flowers it has this year. This is its third season in the ground as well. Sorry for the fan noise, but it is hot today. This right here is a pineapple guava, and it survived the winter. It got little black spots during the cold months, but then it has fully recovered. And check out how beautiful it looks. This one I got from Edible Landscaping, and then I had this one over here that also TG gave me, and this one is doing really well. And I took a cutting from this and I successfully propagated the cutting, so I'm going to be taking more cuttings of it this year and hopefully making a whole hedge of pineapple guava. This right here is my flying dragon. This flying dragon has grown a lot this year. Hopefully in a few years it will give me fruit, because I'm hoping to use this as root stock, and I'm going to be using the yuzu that I have in the greenhouse to create more yuzu plants and sell them here locally. This is the other wind palm I planted here. It's doing really good right now. The test for this one will be winter to see if it survives. And I have another red banana here up against the wall. Hopefully that wall allows this to survive the winter without a problem. This right here is my Celeste fig. Check out how tall it has gotten. I've been clearing it so I can keep a path open between the greenhouse and this area here, but it is huge this year. However, by cutting the branches off of this, I lost a lot of the fruiting wood, so I only see a few figs on it this year. But that's okay, because look at the one behind there. That one's full too. And check out this amount of propagation I have going on in here. It's gone off the rails, my friends. I have so much stuff here that I am propagating this year. Too much to go into detail for now, but if you want to watch what I have here, come back. Oh, here is the cutting I took from my pineapple guava. It's looking so healthy, and I've been taking cuttings from my Meyer lemon tree as well, and this is the results of that. This little vine right here is a yam. It's a Chinese yam. Last year I grew it, and it makes an edible tuber, and it survives the winter no problem. But this year what I want to grow is the real purple ube, and I planted it in my other area over there, and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys the results at the end of the season. This right here, this one I'm actually going to get rid of, because it produces a ton of little potato tubers, and check this out. It's very invasive. So I've been digging them out, and I've been keeping up with them. So hopefully I can eradicate them and just plant ube. And if you are from the tropics like me, the next part is going to be very exciting, because it's tropicals that I am pushing here in Zone 7B. I have taro, I have sugar cane, and I have yucca or cassava this year. Let me show you. Last year I successfully grew some sugar cane in this spot, but I dug it out and I put it inside my greenhouse, and now I put it back outside, and check out this is coming back. This year I plan to leave this one here and just mulch it with a lot of leaves, and hopefully it will come back on its own. And if it does, I am going to start growing it as a perennial. This right here is a cassava plant. Check that out. I bought a few cuttings on Etsy and I rooted them out, and now they're growing, and there's a little papaya growing next to it, just for fun. This little patch right here is rice. This area gets a little bit more moist than any of the other areas, so I have the rice here. And I also have this black edamame or soybean. It's black. How cool is that? I have another planting of cassava here and another sugar cane here that I saved inside. Hopefully it grows big enough this year and it produces some edible food. Check out the banana I didn't dig out. It's looking so gorgeous. So next year I should just leave them in the ground and let them do their thing. This right here are my kiwis, and I haven't been successful at getting them to set fruit, but this one might be setting fruit this year. We'll see. This one didn't flower last year, but we'll see what happens. And this one over here also has fruit. Check that out. There's a little bit of fruits here. This is hardy kiwi. This is an Anna kiwi, and the male, I forgot the name of the male, but here's the male. Actually put out flowers and maybe fruit set too. So I'm not sure if it's a male and a female. I'm really excited to show you this guy right here. This guy is a hardy ginger. This is Mayoga ginger, and last year I bought very small shoots. I put them into the ground and they grew okay, but I was worried they were not going to make it through winter. But I just covered with a lot of mulch here, and you can see I have beautiful ginger growing here. It's going to produce a flower that's edible, and that's going to be exciting. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 here, and then it's putting out new growth this year. So I'm excited about that. The next thing I want to show you is something really cool. I always wanted to grow taro, and I did a lot of searching on the internet to see if taro would grow here. And people were saying that the season is not long enough to grow taro. But last year I grew a ton of taro, and I dug it all out, or so I thought. And I've maybe left 1 or 2 bulbs in here by accident, and check this out. It has come back on its own now, and the taro is growing by itself. So that means that you can have a potential perennial tuber that will produce food for you for years to come. So this taro here somehow stayed in the ground and survived the winter. The ones that I dug out and I was planning to replant this year actually got moldy and they died. So this is a much better, this is an easier way to save it. So just leave it in the ground and it will come back. You can't see it yet, but I have ginger planted here. Last year I was very successful at growing ginger. Unfortunately, I dug it out and put it in the greenhouse and I put it in pots. And that was a mistake because they rotted over the winter months. So this year, all the ginger that I grow, I'm gonna eat it and just buy new ginger next year from the grocery store and plant it because it grows really easily actually. And you don't need to start it indoors. You just buy a knob from the store that is looking like it's sprouting a little bit and you put it in the ground and it just grows. And check out the size of my pawpaw tree, man. This thing keeps on growing and growing and growing. I think this one is about 6 years old because when I moved to this house it was already 3 years old and I dug it out and I planted it in here and it's so big. Hopefully next year it will put out flowers. I was hopeful that this year it was going to produce flowers, but it didn't make any flowers. And don't comment that you need 2 or 3 of these. I have about 25 planted. You just don't see them, but I have 25 trees planted all along this fence. So hopefully one day they'll produce pawpaws. And check out this beautiful green wall. It has gotten so large this year. This is not a rare thing, but this is elderberry. It does really well here. Actually a little too well. And I have my grapes growing in it right now. And this thing is loaded and it's crazy. Check out the amount of food that's gonna come out of this area. Also, another curious note, I forgot to harvest a few potatoes out of this row right here. And there is so many potatoes that have come up on their own this year. It is ridiculous. So I'm assuming potatoes are a perennial vegetable here in Zone 7B. The thing that really helps my beds, I believe, is that I collect all of my neighbors' leaves, and I collect all my leaves. I mulch them, and then I put them on my raised beds. And I think that's just enough protection to keep the plants coming back every year. So my goal is to have a perennial food forest and not so many annuals, because annuals take a lot of work. You need to plant them from seed and then you take care of them inside, you take them out after the first frost. So that takes a lot of work. But if you have perennial vegetables that come back every single year, that really lessens the load and it's a lot easier to manage. I want to show you the back orchard. I have a fruit tree, a peach tree that I planted from seed that is 2 years old and is making fruits. This is what I like to call my back orchard, and sure is an orchard. I have a lot of stuff growing in here. And let me show you what's going on here. I have this nectarine tree. It's loaded with fruit. Last year it dropped all of the fruit. And I know you want me to remove more from the branches, but I'm not going to do it because it does it naturally anyways. Check out the peaches. This peach tree right here. This peach right here is 2 years old. And people don't believe that it's 2 years old because it's so big. But I can show you something right now. You see, this is a green stem. This whole green stem from here to here has grown this year. You can see I cut it right here and it has pushed this growth out. So let me see. My hand is about 6 inches when I do this. That's 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches. That's about 2 feet worth of growth in one season, and it's not even done growing yet. And you can see the same thing is happening here. I cut it right here and it's pushed out this branch. This branch has to be 3 foot long. It is so big, it is ridiculous. But the coolest thing is that it's pushing out peaches, and it has so many peaches. I did remove a few, but it has dropped a bunch. You can see on the ground it has dropped a bunch of peaches, but that's okay. The ones that fall off, the tree doesn't need, and I'll be happy to just have one peach and try one peach. My persimmon tree is over here. It's looking gnarly. Like the growing shape of this thing is crazy. Like I have a stand, I have a little tutor thing here to keep it upright, but this thing grows a little wild. I can't tell you how crazy that thing is. I have a plum tree here. It had one little plum, but it dropped it, so that's okay. Next year, I know for a fact it will produce flowers for sure. Check out the corn that I have planted here. Something's eating the leaves. I'm not sure what's eating the leaves, but it's pretty neat. I have these are hazelnuts, and these are supposed to be compatible with each other to cross-pollinate. I have a cherry tree that I started from seed, and I have a black Arkansas apple right here. I have another cherry tree right here, and I have my Gala apple tree right here. And last year I got about 6 of them, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna get any. I think there's cedar rust that gets on these plants, and it really bothers them, and it drops the fruit. Here's one that has dropped, and I'm not sure. Apples are kind of hard to grow around here. I also have this pear tree. This is an Asian pear. It has a few pears this year, but also has issues. Something's biting them. So we'll see what happens with that. This is a this is a European pear, and it's on a dwarf stock, and it sure is dwarf. It's been planted here for 3 years, and it has grown not very much. But I'm hoping that this one's a good producer. And inside the greenhouse over here, let me see what's on. This greenhouse is a mess. Check out how big everything is in the greenhouse. I need to come in here and chop everything down, take the plastic off, and start growing things in the raised beds. But yesterday I came in here and I harvested a bunch of broccoli that I had growing. I have a bunch of peas, and I have some Napa cabbage that I'm going to try to turn into kimchi. Here's another papa tree that I have here. I somehow picked this spot for it, and I'm not sure why I did that, but we'll see. Check this out. You can go under the tree here, and look at the peach. And this whole thing right here is loaded with this gooseberries. I can't remember the actual name of these things. Gooseberries? Yeah, I think they're gooseberries. This is thorny, so be careful where you plant it, but they're very tasty. Here we go. And if you haven't watched my most recent videos, my neighbor is letting me use her yard to grow more food. So my yard is right here, and you can even see my grapes coming on her side of the fence here. And she has told me I can use the entire yard to grow food in her yard. So I'm starting a little small this year, and let me show you what the garden looks like over here. This is the garden I've created over here. I have been tilling it and removing all the weeds because there's a lot of weed pressure here. But I have planted some peppers in here. I also have some garbanzo beans. Check that out. Garbanzo beans in between the rows here. This whole thing is okra. Oh, I can see the okra already coming up right here. Over here I planted some sesame seeds right here. I have potatoes growing. I also have this row of peas that are using the trellis right over here. And check out my corn. My corn is already a foot tall, and I have a very big patch of it right here. And hopefully I'll be harvesting a lot of corn. This is the red butcher corn. It's a red corn, and it's really good for tortillas and making really tasty pastelitos. So stay tuned for a video on this. Since she has given me access to the whole yard, I'm gonna be tilling up along the fence here, because a few years ago they grew a lot of corn over here and it did really well. So I want to till about 2 feet off of the fence line and all the row all over that way. And I'm going to be growing a lot of sweet corn over here. I also planted my beans in between. Right at the bottom of each corn stalk, I've planted 2 to 3 seeds of red beans. They climb up, so they're going to use the stalks as their trellis. And later today, I'm going to be planting some Seminole pumpkin seeds in here as well. So doing the Three Sisters method or the Milpa method. And my dad actually told me that you should plant everything together at the same time. So he told me that you plant them all together. So he throws the seeds all together when they do the planting. But he said I still got time, so I put the seeds in there for the beans maybe 2-3 days ago. And today I'm going to be planting the squash. Next year, if I have enough time, I'm going to increase the size of this garden because this yard gets a ton of sun. So I'm happy to take over this yard and grow even more food. Some other cool things that I'm growing this year is a yam or yame. I went to the store and I bought a true jam from Jamaica. It's just the Asian grocery store. And I've had it indoors for a long time and it started sprouting. And I'm definitely going to be growing that. I was hoping to grow chayote against this year. I had a plant and I brought it outside and it died. So it didn't really like the outside. So I'm not sure that I'm gonna grow chayotes again this year, but that's okay. Last year I grew it and it was okay. So hopefully the other things that I'm growing right now are gonna make up for it. The other cool thing that I am growing this year is papayas. I have papayas in pots, and I'm going to be putting them out and seeing if I can get them to a good size so they can start making fruit. If they don't make fruit this year, I'm gonna bring them inside my house. I'm not gonna risk it with the greenhouse again this year because last year I lost a lot of plants in the greenhouse. So if they survive this winter inside my house, I'm gonna plant them in the ground next year, and hopefully that'll be plenty of time for them to produce fruit. So that's a 2-year project that I am embarking on. If you are still watching, thank you so much for watching until the end. I appreciate you guys, and I hope that you guys are growing a lot of food this year. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of growing, but possibly not a ton of filming, because filming takes a lot of time and then the editing takes even longer. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.